If you are created in the image of likeness of God, you have creative power that is not of this world. These are things that exist outside of the natural realm. It's not weird, but if you're not tapped into it, you can't benefit and you can't operate in something that is a free gift to you and to me. All right, welcome to the Todd Boffo Show. I have something special for you today. As many of you may have known or not know, in my book, Prince, Why You Were Made for More, I talk about this idea of calling, this idea of leaving your print. Do you know that less than 3% of people that go to church will ever work for a church? So less than 3% that will ever go to a church will ever work for a church. And some people think that working for a church is the highest calling. It is not. Especially when you consider less than 3% of people will ever do that. Less than that will ever make a career there. And less than that will ever be on stage. Here's the point. There's a stage and there's a platform that you have. And that's where your strength flows from. That's where your purpose flows from. That's where your significance and your impact flows from the platform you have, not another platform. So today I want to talk about, it's actually in the Bible. It's all there. And how do you know and how do you start to zone in on understanding your platform, understanding what you're called to do, and leaving your mark? I want to touch on something from Exodus 31, verses 3 through 5, but it just describes where Bezalel this guy is filled with the Spirit of God. It says this, it's filled with the Spirit, but also it granted him wisdom, skill, and knowledge to design and create in gold, bronze, silver, precious stone, even wood, as he's constructing this tabernacle. This is why this is important, because this was his calling. He was filled. Think about this. He's filled with the Spirit, not to talk in the chapel, not to preach on a stage, not to share in the synagogue. He was anointed. He was filled with something that's not of this world to actually flow through him to do something. And in this case, it says not only was he filled with Spirit, but also skilled hands. So that means that there was already a design for him, designed to be skilled to know how to do something that just so happened he was good with his hands. Let me just say this, I am not good with their hands. I'm really good at calling and ordering and helping get someone else come in to build stuff. I've got so many hospital visits over the years. I'm kind of like Tim the Toolman Taylor, for anybody who remembers that show. But that's not my skill, is not in building things. But there are some people, even one of the chapters in my book talks about, highlights Ken, who is an amazing guy, skilled not just with the mindset, but with his hands. So this means, remember I said about 3%, that 3% number, less than 3% of people who go to church will ever, serve a local, to like actually build a career at church. And so that means, what is the other 97% doing of people that go to church? And even if you don't go to church, what are you doing with your life? The skills that you've been given, there is a hard wiring that made you the way that you are. We never got to ask. We didn't get to ask what we wanted when we got here. God just put the best inside of us. Now it's up to us to allow it to come out. And then also sharpen those skills. So I want to talk about 3 points. You and I are living this life. You and I, almost sometimes when you feel like some things are accidental, like you kind of just found your way. You just discovered, hey, I like to cook. For me, I found out I like cooking. And then I went to school and I found out I was called to preach and speak. So I started doing that, work with leaders, helping coach people, helping disciple people, helping people uncover the best that's in them. I found along the way that I'm really good at that. And the more I found that, the more confidence I got. And then the more I was challenged to get better. So my first point is that when you start, you got to realize there's a spirit within you. If you're a believer, you're a Christian, if you believe in God, there is a spirit that's in you. So how do you cultivate that? Because I got 3 steps for you that are really important. Number 1 is you got to stay full. This iPad here, my computer or my phone here, all was amazing. The other night I was on stage speaking to a group of people, a few hundred people, and my battery was going dead. And I knew it would have died during that presentation. So as great as this was, if it's not plugged in, its greatness will never be revealed. The true greatness of what this can do and what can deliver would never happen without it being plugged in. So I brought in a remote charger and I had it plugged in the whole time. But it's the same thing for you and me. You've got to be plugged into the things that are energizing you for what you're meant to deliver through your life, to energize what's in you, to bring that out of you. And so you need to stay filled. How do you do that? Well, one of the things is to pray. One of the things is to, if you're not, I'm not sure where to start with prayer. Start with this. Do a 60-second prayer when you wake up. Do a 60-second prayer before you go to sleep. Go through a thing where you're just gratitude and go through that you're thankful. Or maybe just asking God for some things that are on your heart too. But start there. Maybe do 60, then you jump it to 2 minutes. Maybe it's 3 minutes. I don't know what it is for you, but the point is you got to start to stay connected. The other thing is where when we talk about dealing with God, I want you to picture God as you sitting at this table with us, because God is around us. The creator of the universe cares about you. So there's this part where I'm talking, but guess what? I have 2 ears and 1 mouth for a reason. I need to also listen. So how do I practice listening? Well, I create margin to listen. I don't just talk. It's not a one-way street. Every relationship in your life is dependent on you being able to express yourself as well as listen. Lastly is when you have these certain inspirational nudges, when you have these potential ideas and these things that could, because that's what's going to happen. The more you press into the creator of the universe, all of a sudden you're going to start to think and think and feel a little bit differently. It doesn't mean like everything in your life is perfect. Whoever told you that lie, they just sold you a bill of goods. What I'm saying is that you incorporate it into your life, and all of a sudden you will begin to notice as you speak, as you develop a relationship, as you begin to listen, and as you begin to follow those nudges, they will get stronger. It will get stronger. The Spirit of God makes ordinary men extraordinary. It's what sets you apart is not just the idea that I'm a Christian, it's that you are filled and you're staying filled. So when God gives you an idea, it's not just inspiration, it's an invitation. It's an invitation for you to operate or to do something. And, the wind fills the sail. That's what the Spirit does. Think about this. It kind of fills the sail. But the sailor, you and me, we got to steer the ship. We can't be aimless, but that's what happens. The second thing about this story was they were skillful in their hands. Skillful in their hands, were they able to build. What are you skilled to do? Like for me, it's not my hands, it's my mouth. That's what I'm doing right now. And I'm skilled in some other things. I mean, my hands is good if I'm cooking dinner. I can make mean lasagna with these hands and cook some great things. But what are you skilled to do? What is it in your life that needs to be sharpened, that needs to be studied, practiced, and improved? And small moves equal big shifts. So what does that mean? It means I start to build discipline. Excellence is built through habits. So whatever skills you have, don't look at like I'm trying to get all the way down the road. Just start with what can help me sharpen and get 10% better today or this month or this next couple months. I don't know what it is for you, but there's something that you're supposed to be building habits into. And what also you tune into things like that I'm putting out and other people put out. Why does that matter? Well, because we learn from mentors. Mentors multiply wisdom and they help you avoid issues and problems. They fast track your growth. So hopefully from listening to this and following me and interacting with me, you find something inside of you that is fast track. You're either going to learn from your own mistakes or have the opportunity to learn maybe from the mistakes of others and navigate through life with speed and access. There's no way to completely avoid mistakes, but if you had the chance, why put yourself through all that? So that idea of sharpening, building discipline, and learning from mentors. So, talent is God-given, but skill is self-developed. If you're a golfer, a pro golfer, which you have some pro golfers that watch this, you still have to go out and do the routine. You still have to go out and hit. You can't say, well, I just prayed and God's given me this great dream and he's going to use me on this platform and I'm going to do it. So you have to go and do the work. It's in every single area of life. It takes what God has given, and then your job is to begin to master. So your job is to continue to develop that skill. Some of you have seen the episode where I had the F-15 fighter pilot, remember Brian Kemp, Spider-Man Kemp. One of the things he said to me was interesting, that was while he became the top instructor of weapons training school, when they're training, they have to be actively flying. They aren't retired. They're not sitting on the sidelines talking about the glory days. They have to be actively engaged and up to date because everything changes so quick. How are they going to train something they're not engaged in? So that's why we don't ever want to get, too comfortable. If you're alive and breathing, you can grow. When you think about sharpening your craft, just make it. It's like, hey, excellence isn't an act. It's a habit. And some of you remember, when I was a butcher, I worked in butchering. And so, most people get cut through dull knives, not sharp ones. And those old timers, man, we used to, you have our butcher blocks and all this, and they'd have their different knives for different things, but all of them need to be sharpened. And you had a steel, what's called a steel, and that just puts a slight edge on it. And then we had stones, and then some of them were with a motor, and some were just hand stones with mineral oil. And so all they would do is they would go through and just continue to sharpen it, because the more you used it, the duller it got. So you had to keep it sharp. It's the same thing for you. You're built for the long haul. You're built to do much. Matter of fact, when you would look at those old knives, I wish I had one of them here. When you look at the inside, what they call the tang, so here's the handle where it first comes out, you can see how long and how big the knife used to be. And then over years and years and years, it gets slightly smaller. Why? Because it's been used. You'll see nicks in it. You'll see pieces taken out of the handle, and you'll see where it's been honed down, and it's sharp as can be, sharp as ever, and still functions. But it's up to you to keep sharp. The last point here, we have our part, but now we have partnership. The partnership goes from the spirit part and the skill part. That's where impact happens. That's where where our example today, where he's actually building something for God. I want to encourage you to just think about this for a moment. You didn't ask to be wired the way that you are. Some of you have been incredibly blessed. You didn't ask for these opportunities. Why is God giving them to you? Well, they're there for a reason, because there's a purpose for it. That's why God's partnered with you. You have the best partner. You might say he's a silent partner. Well, maybe he needs to be a little more vocal in your life, because that partnership is powerful. And so that's my third point. My last point here is that spirit and skill equals impact. So I can pray and plan, but what I'm trying to do is take my vision and execution and put them together. Some of you heard me say this before. You don't grow at the rate of information, you grow at the rate of implementation. So the rate I can implement is the rate I can grow. So it's not just knowing something, it's doing something. So what do? I want to innovate with integrity. I want to download from the Spirit. That's what the Bible says. If you are created in the image of likeness of God, you have creative power that is not of this world. These are things that exist outside of the natural realm. It's not weird, but if you're not tapped into it, you can't benefit, and you can't operate in something that is a free gift to you and to me. And it's not about being on stage. It's not about any of that. It's about equipping you to do what you're called to do with your life. You're bigger than where you are today. Your impact is more important than what you've accomplished up until this point. Your job, my job, is to understand, hey, there is a spirit. I got to include this into my life. Then there's also the skill of my hands. What am I doing with what's been given to me? And then lastly is putting these things together, because I need to deliver results. Fruit comes and it confirms your calling. When you have a calling on your life, don't just talk about it. Go out and start doing it. Maybe sometimes we just need to stop talking about and going and doing it, because the fruit will follow. And vision, Edison said it this way: vision without execution is a hallucination. C.S. Lewis said it this way. I like this one. He said, integrity is doing the right thing even when no one's watching. So it's about right or wrong. What I'm saying about nobody's watching, it's about what are you doing with what you've been given. You don't have forever, guys. There's a limited time. We spend time, invest time without even knowing what the balance is. We don't know what it is. We don't need to be scared about it, but we should be intentionally living our life. So, here's the point. Don't separate your faith from your work. Every contract, every deal, every time you build something, every time you create something, every time you do something, think about that altar internally where the spirit and your skill have met. And thank the one who's given you not only the skill, thank the one who's given you opportunities. Thank the one also who's got more ahead of you than what's behind you. The world just doesn't need more preachers. We got more preaching now than ever. There's more access to preaching than any other time in human history. Great preachers for free. I could pull them up. We could talk about all kinds of topics, but we're not seeing the world change the way it needs to. It's changing, but you and I are the carriers of change. There's people that are watching this. You're a dynamic carrier of the change that really takes it out into the world. And when your life's over, you sit back and God even smiles on you and says, hey, well done, good, faithful servant. The world was a better place because you were here. Part of that is discovering not only God's role in your life, but also the skills that you have, putting them together. And, when you think about the spirit-filled professionals, That's what you are, like leading with excellence. It doesn't need to be weird. You don't need to be telling everybody about it, but lead with excellence. Sharpen your skill. Be sensitive to the Spirit of God and watch God turn your work into worship. Well, that's it for today. I look forward to seeing you next time on The Todd Boffo Show.